Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com. You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls.
As far back as I could remember, I always knew everyone in our government was a gangster.
Happy Earth Day. Welcome to another episode of Thinking Logically here on 99.3 WBVP. I'm your host, Joseph Anthony Corsai. Here with me in studio, he was on fire last episode, our amazing producer, Ryan. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing well, Joe. I'm doing well. I'm happy to be back, and I'm glad to hear from you guys. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. And holding it down from Allegheny County, our co-host, Mr. Gordy. Mark, how are you?
I am here in the AC, Joe, the Allegheny County. I'm doing great, Joe. I am ready to talk some politics. We have a jam-packed episode. We had some exciting developments over the weekend in a lot of different places. So, yeah, let's jump into it, Joe.
Okay, so the Donald Trump trial officially started today. What did he do? To remind our audience, this time they found cocaine last summer at his Mar-a-Lago residence. Just kidding. That was the White House, no pun intended. And that investigation is now closed. So Trump is on trial for a supposed hush money payment to a porn star that he supposedly had sex with. Now, according to District Attorney Bragg, Trump engaged in a scheme with his then lawyer, Michael Cohen, to suppress negative information about Trump. This, according to Bragg, illegally influenced the 2016 election. That's what this is about. Who cares that the body that usually handles cases like this, the Federal Elections Commission, declined to bring charges the last 7 years? This trial, it's going to be a complete circus. Literally. We're going to have acrobats. Those are going to be the people in the media doing their mental gymnastics to get their narrative across and believable to you, the American voter, because that's what it's all about. Judge Merchan, I guess you could call him the ringmaster, ringleader, whatever you want to call it. And Trump, he's going to be, I guess, the lion on the stool roaring if he decides to take the stand. What else are we going to see here? I guess you'll see numerous clowns outside the courthouse, and believe you me, they will look and act like clowns. And bringing us to our next topic, our first topic, actually, we even have fire breathers. Mark, what did we see happen on the streets of New York City on Friday?
We saw our second self-immolation in the last, 2 months? I thought you expect to go maybe you'd see this once in your lifetime. We see it twice in 2 months. According to NPR here, this guy set himself on fire. Apparently he was, reported to be a part of Antifa. But he set himself on fire outside the courthouse where Donald Trump was having his, the jury selection. Apparently, though, this had nothing to do with Trump. This guy was actually, this was around 1:30 in the afternoon, middle of the day. He was in Collect Pond Park. He took out pamphlets espousing conspiracy theories, which, okay, tossed them around, and then doused himself in accelerant and set himself on fire, Joe. I mean, how deranged do you have to be to do this? And then he ended up dying. But, yeah, this would have been something. I mean, they say New York, city that never sleeps. Joe, you don't know what you're going to see when you go to New York. And this is another example of that.
Do you want to delve? Because when I saw it happen, first of all, the lady on CNN that was calling it play-by-play, she sounded like an auctioneer. First of all, she said, shots fired. Shots fired. We have a guy lighting himself on fire. Does it accelerate? She sounded like an auctioneer. And then you see, I don't like to be called a conspiracy theorist, but you see the picture of him on the stretcher and then putting him on the stretcher. And it's almost like, why does he still have hair? If he doused himself in gasoline, and this is from Jack Straw, an account on Twitter, the scene depicted does not align with the reality of the person engulfed in flames. In such a horrific event, the victim would not be handled as casually as shown, nor would they be bound. If gasoline, known for its ability to reach high temperatures and cause destruction, were to come into contact with skin, the resulting burns could be severe, leading to tissue damage and even separation from the bone. That's absent here. Specifically, regions such as the hands and head would be notably impacted, potentially leading to complete combustion of the hair, which is not even evident in this case. And Alex Jones, go figure, agrees. Is this too
man.
early? Is this too early for conspiracies? I mean, the last guy that lit himself on fire was an active member of the Air Force. I feel like this is not getting the media attention it deserves. It's already out of the news cycle. What do you think?
I mean, I kind of disagree with that a little bit. I mean, why give it any more attention than it needs? I mean, a guy set himself on fire, he died. Okay, I don't know. What more is there to say?
Yeah, I like how his manifesto or whatever came out immediately, unlike the trans shooter in Tennessee or wherever that was a little over a year ago. But in his manifesto, I can't. Why you would douse yourself in gasoline, kerosene, and light yourself on fire, I have no idea. He claims in his manifesto that the United States government is a fascist, totalitarian dictatorship that wants to control the world. And what do you want to say? We know, cuz we've been talking about that on Reddit and Twitter for years. But don't light yourself on fire over it. Try to do something. Engage with people. Talk about it on Facebook. Start a radio show or something. Don't light yourself on fire, you maniac. All right. Let's get to the actual trial. Mark, first of all, how cool of a phrase is hush money? And why didn't it stay hush in this case?
They make it out to be like him paying whoever paid, quote unquote, hush money, air quotes, that is a crime. First of all, that is not a crime. All right. Is it ethical? Probably not. Is it illegal? No. It happens all the time, if not on a daily basis. Second of all you need is one juror out of 12 to take his side. Okay? It's not a majority rules opinion. You need 12 jurors to agree that he is guilty. The stories we heard over the weekend and late last week coming out with these jurors in some of their backgrounds, in some of their affiliations, their political preferences, were mind-blowing. How do you get a fair jury, a fair trial with an impartial judge whose daughter, I know we're going to touch on this later, works for a major Democratic firm who gets paid millions of dollars? The firm does. So we'll touch on that. But the jury pool in New York City, oh, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of impartial people in this jury pool, right? They had to dismiss several people, obviously, because of their bias against Trump. I mean, but on the other side of that coin, though, Joe, you either, you have a stance on Trump or you don't. You either love him or hate him, right? There are very few people who are in between. I was thinking about this today. When we talked about the show script, how difficult would it be for someone to be completely impartial, to be completely, down the middle and look at this without, a certain type of lens. So I do give the jurors, for I guess who they picked credit for being able to be unbiased for now, but we'll see what happens with this trial and how these jurors react. I mean, everyone says, though, you talk to legal expert after legal expert, and they say this is a terrible case. This is nothing more than the DA Alvin Bragg trying to take down Trump. So again, this is going to go on for probably a few weeks. As you said, this is probably going to be a circus. If I'm the defense, I'm going to ask the jury, why did they wait 7 or 8 years to bring this to trial? If he's guilty, Joe.
Okay, so I wonder how many people lied to get on the jury and actually feel one way or another towards Trump. It's probably negative. I wonder how many people actually feel negative towards Trump and did not admit that, and they're actually on the jury. We're going to play a juror that did not get on the jury because she was honest that she couldn't be impartial. Ryan, whenever you get a chance, play the Trump juror audio.
What happened? Why were you dismissed?
Because I couldn't be impartial.
You couldn't be impartial. So when the judge asked that hand, can you be impartial? You raised your hand and you said you cannot.
Exactly.
Wow. Have you ever served as a juror before?
No, that's my first time because I just became a citizen in August.
Yeah. What was your impression of Donald Trump when you saw him?
He looked less orange. He doesn't look angry, or I think he looks bored. Like he wants this to finish and go do his stuff.
Okay, now for our audience, if you can, for the next few weeks, months maybe, remember that audio clip whenever the media tries to describe how Trump acts, how Trump looks, what Trump does in court, because that is a person right there. She's so impartial, she refused to be on the jury. And she could probably get a nice book deal in a decade or two for being on this jury. That's the problem. People that are on the right, people that they play by the rules. It seems like the left wants to get on the jury because we've had how many? 5 jurors dismissed after they were already brought on as jurors. 5 people were found out that they lied, that they weren't completely honest and been taken off as jurors. What is that about?
I know. Well, let's look what Stephen A. Smith had to say, Joe, the other day. Primarily, I have Stephen A. Smith from ESPN, for those of you that don't know. Primarily, I have voted Democrat throughout my life, but I'm utterly disgusted with what I'm seeing. They've clearly politicized this thing with Donald Trump because they can't come up with a strategy to offset the momentum he's clearly gained. So this goes back to, everything we just said about this whole thing.
This goes back to 2006, this stuff with Stormy Daniels. The actual event is 2006. The statute of limitations have expired. Everyone's looked at this case, decided not to bring charges until, 6 months before an election, the trial starts. It's absolutely amazing. The media needed this, though. They needed something to report on that would be negative for Trump as they hide Biden. And you know what? It's our job to call out their falsehoods, and we'll give you a good one right here. So this is from the Daily Mail Online. Donald Trump trial team splashed an eye-watering $700 at Manhattan McDonald's during break in jury selection, but they left no tip for the workers. So I did a little bit of investigative research, and it turns out that there is a whole article on this, that McDonald's does not let their employees accept tips in the United States. As a matter of fact, they'll be fired immediately if they did. So if you're Trump's team, you either tip them and get the employees fired, which will be a story about, Trump not even being president and causing the unemployment numbers to spike up, or you don't tip and you depend on podcasts and news stations and people that report the truth to get your back. Because remember, Trump has a gag order. Trump really can't say too much during his own trial here.
Well, speaking of the media telling lies and making things up, did you hear this one, Joe? Allegedly, they're saying that while Trump has been in court over the last couple of days, he has not only fallen asleep, but he is prone to farting. Not a joke. And he is causing the courtroom to smell.
We'll play that audio, but right before we go to commercial break, we'll play that audio for our audience.
But, yeah. Well, I want to talk about
not of the actual farts. Not of the actual farts.
On Truth, if we have time here. This was from, I believe, today. The corrupt Soros-funded district attorney, Alvin Bragg, who has totally lost control of violent crime in New York, says that the payment of money to a lawyer for legal services rendered should not be referred to in a ledger as legal expense. What other term would be more appropriate? Believe it or not, this is the pretext under which I was indicted and that legal scholars and experts cannot believe. It is also the perfect crooked Joe Biden narrative to be stuck in a courtroom and not be allowed to campaign for president of the United States. Joe, fact or fiction?
In 2024, that's a fact. but it'll be fiction. Let's see here. Before we move to break, also, did you see this? The House Democrats introduced a bill aimed at Trump that would strip Secret Service protection from felons, and I guess that's the goal. Trump will be a felon. Before we play the Trump farting audio, which again is not of him farting, I just have to say Matthew Colangelo, that's who made opening statements for the prosecution today. Now, let me translate what this means. It means the DOJ is the one prosecuting this case. Merrick Garland. Remember, there's a gag order. Like I said, Trump isn't allowed to point this kind of stuff out. We will, though. Ryan, play the Trump farting audio and then bring it back for 1 second before we head to a break.
Hearing from credible sources who know what's going on in the courtroom, and what I'm hearing is that, take it for what it's worth, but that Donald Trump is actually farting in the courtroom and that it's very stinky around him.
That's our media in 2024, an election year. Like I said, it's going to be a complete circus. Barron Trump, could he be a midget on stilts? I don't know. When we return, though, we're going to discuss the massive border security package that the House, who came in on a Saturday to work for you, the American people, passed. Just kidding. That was actually a $60 billion aid package for other countries with the goal of getting us involved in another endless war that has no end goal or strategy. Remember, you got two $600 checks for COVID. What's the average Ukrainian oligarch pulling in from this massive spending? Stay tuned. You're listening to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP. You know, when Joe Biden shuffles in front of the cameras to answer scripted questions during the day, he lies like Don King. But what you don't know is, when he goes to sleep at night, he lies like an Egyptian king because he uses MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River, its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable. Use the promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings on this amazing product. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Galla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Galla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond. Cash for your house. PGHbuyers.com. If you have an unwanted house but don't want the hassle of selling, visit PGHbuyers.com to see if PGHbuyers.com can help. No inspections and a fair cash offer. Visit PGHbuyers.com to sell that unwanted property for a fair price today.
The warm weather is back, and that can only mean one thing. Pirates baseball for a 76th season is on Beaver County Radio. Make sure you set your radio dial to WBVP and 99.3 FM. Pirate baseball is being presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcone's Moon Township Ford, Keystone Wellness Program, Friendly Federal Credit Union, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, Patriot Home Care, Town Square Restaurant, and Beaver County Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP. These opinions are gold. Gold, I tell you. Speaking of gold, this show is sponsored by Mitchell's Jewelers. Mitchell's Jewelers, where their jewelry always outshines the competition. Okay, earlier we were talking about the bombshell report about former President Trump supposedly farting in the courtroom on Friday. And also, someone lit themselves on fire like a Vietnamese monk protesting Vietnam. We're going to talk about our next Vietnam, Ukraine, in a minute. But first, Tucker Carlson went on Joe Rogan last week. And boy, it was an amazing 3-hour interview. Mark, the alien talk was interesting. Tucker doesn't believe aliens came from another planet. What the heck is that about?
So, this was a great interview. I actually listened to this on my drive back from the Virginia Military Institute on Saturday. same place where Robert E. Lee is buried in Stonewall Jackson there in Lexington, Virginia. So 3 hours and 20-minute long podcast. Joe, this was unbelievable. I mean, they dove in right off the bat, I wonder how many views this actually has right now. I mean, these are two of the most popular people in media, probably the two most popular people in media today. So they hammer the UAP, UFO, extraterrestrial, as Tucker calls them, supernatural, meaning above nature, as Tucker explains. Basically says that he doesn't believe they are, the people, the unidentified aerial phenomenon that we are seeing today are not from our government. He believes that they are not from another planet. They are from here right on Earth. That they are beings that have always been here or have been here for millions of years or hundreds of, whatever you want to call it. And they are dwelling literally underground or in the ocean. Why does he say that? Well, it's on video. This is not a, far off thing of these craft that are entering and exiting the water at, he said 500 knots, which is an absurd amount of speed, but, something along those lines. So why are they going underwater? Why are they coming out from the water? So what's going on, Joe? He says that there are spirits acting upon us at all times, good and bad. How does this tie in with religion? I really don't know. He didn't really get into the whole, creating religion type of thing that he mentioned in another interview and how dark these things are. But Tucker Carlson, interesting guy. He said some interesting things. He doesn't have a TV at home. He doesn't email. He doesn't have a computer. He's very into his family, very into his children. But yeah, this alien talk show, and I know we've talked about this privately, especially when it comes to Antarctica. What's going on down in Antarctica? Is there something down there that these government leaders know of? He also talked about the relationship between governments, especially the U.S. government, has with these beings. Do they have a relationship with these supernatural beings? Again, how does this tie in with organized religion, stuff like that? So it's all very interesting. Joe, what's your take?
On the alien part, like I said, every single religion, it starts with someone coming down from the sky and telling humans what to do and how to do stuff. And I don't know, when you think about them as like demons or like something besides like a physical being from another country, it kind of makes sense what they say like in the Bible and religious scripts and stuff, I guess. I don't know. I could buy into it. I like when the alien stuff came out on Tucker back when he had a show, I always said, why does the alien ship look like a triangle and why does it go into the water? Like you never would think that. Like in the 1950s, we weren't thinking about UFOs going into the water, and this is the information we have, and it's documented. It's Navy pilots, Air Force pilots have seen this, seen them travel at speeds they can't even comprehend. So
he talks about the first chapter of the book of Ezekiel in the Bible. I mean, talking about this. There have been every civilization in recorded history has mentioned things like this. It is interesting, and he brought up a point, he said it before that, revealing what these things are to the general public would probably do more harm than good because people wouldn't be able to wouldn't be able to comprehend, what these things are or why they're here or what their purpose is. So I don't know. It's all very interesting. It definitely makes you wonder,
The whole 3 hours is interesting. Honestly, go check it out on Joe Rogan's website, on X, on Spotify. He got into vaccines and the Amish, how the Amish have such low levels of autism and stuff like that. And, say what you want if you believe vaccines cause autism, whatever you want. But he's asking the question. And also on Nixon, he accused the CIA and FBI of taking out Nixon with the help of Bob Woodward. He said, and I'll quote, "Bob Woodward was that guy. And who was his main source for Watergate? Oh, the number 2 guy at the FBI. So you have a naval intelligence officer, which was Bob Woodward, working with an FBI official to destroy the president. Okay, that sounds like a deep state coup, and that's what Tucker said. And he brings up really good points about Nixon. What else was there? FISA. He said FISA was created in 1977. Why do we still have it today? It didn't stop 9/11. He brought up a good point there. Again, 3 hours and change. I highly recommend watching it. Ryan, are you a big Joe Rogan guy?
You know what I do? I like Joe Rogan a lot, and I think he touches on a lot of things that that people are certainly interested in, as you do on your show, Joe. I think that there's always interesting things these guys talk about, and when Joe Rogan talks, whether you believe what he's saying or whether you don't, people tend to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said Nixon was the most popular president in U.S. history by, I think it was vote margin.
He lost one state, and it was the guy, Minnesota, the guy's home state. I can't remember. It's escaping me
Barry
now.
Goldwater.
That's it. But
yeah, and then Nixon gets taken down. He said Bob Woodward was this like newer reporter for the Washington Post, and all of a sudden he gets like the biggest story ever.
And gets movies made up for him after the movies were made off that. The Washington Post was able to collect donations for decades because of that. Seems a little scripted now.
Yep, and look where we're at today. I mean, look what Bob Woodward has done today with his career. Written all these books, and obviously is part of the left wing, establishment / deep state, if nothing else.
All right. And speaking of the deep state, let's continue right on to the Uniparty. This happened on a Saturday afternoon. The U.S. House approved a potential TikTok ban. This is a bill that has all this. $60.8 billion for Ukraine, $26.4 billion for Israel, and $8 billion for Taiwan. If you're listening on Facebook Live or the radio, you might want to turn the volume down a few notches because I might start screaming here. Look, on the House floor, you had representatives cheering and celebrating like they won the Super Bowl. I mean, you got to see them cheering, waving Ukrainian flags because they passed a bill that involves $60 billion of our money. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, Mr. Biblical Worldview. You want to be biblical, maybe start flipping some tables instead of folding like a lawn chair to the Democrats. Again, they're on the House floor waving Ukrainian flags. Meanwhile, they're still arresting people that waved American flags on January 6th. This is a Ukrainian insurrection. Where's the January 6th footage at, Mike? Where's that, by the way? You know what? Who even cares at this point? Have we learned nothing the past 50 years with these wars and the spending that goes along with them? And what follows after that? It seems that spending always leads to eventual major involvement with our sons and daughters. How'd Vietnam start? We were helping the French. We had to in order to, whatever it was, stop communism from spreading from Russia, USSR. Remember the first Iraq war? We had to go in and help the poor people of Kuwait. Remember the babies in the incubators? Well, that was a lie. What did that get us? What about the second time? Where are the WMDs? How much destruction was caused by that lie? How many Americans are dead? How many Iraqis are dead? Afghanistan, how'd that turn out? You think we're just going to sit by and suck our thumbs while we watch you do this again? No chance. Keep waving those flags and showing your true colors. And then I got to get to this idiot, Adam Kinzinger. Let me pull up the tweet he puts out. I'm proud of America. We stand with Ukraine. A message to my fellow Americans and those fighting in Ukraine. We stand with you, and the trolls don't represent our country. No, Adam, you don't represent our country. Literally, you were voted out. You didn't even run for the election because you knew you couldn't win your primary. Why? Because of Ukraine. And then there's this tweet from Dem Congress candidate Nate McMurray out of New York. Slava Ukraine, die MAGA, die. You lose. Mark, we got about a minute and a half left. That sounds like he's calling for a bloodbath, doesn't it?
I'll be honest with you, Joe. When this came out, when I saw Mike Johnson do a total 180 here on this topic and put these bills on the floor, I was honestly like very, very down, on America, which I rarely am. But this had me like, are you kidding me? We are going to keep funding death and destruction around the world. We don't have a plan. We don't have anything. It's just continue to fund death, destruction, and terrorism. And you could say that at this point around the world. What are we doing? I mean, we are almost like helpless and powerless in this situation. Is this what they would call consent of the governed, Joe? Just got an email from Tucker Carlson Network. Is Ukraine even a democracy? Because they're actively persecuting Christians. Priests are being thrown in jail for belonging to a church of which Vladimir Zelensky disapproves, and the United States is funding those arrests. What are we doing? This is an absolute disgrace. I can't believe that we are sending our tax money to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan. Because Mike Johnson, he prayed on it? Who did he pray to? Satan. This self-proclaimed Christian. They're calling him the next Winston Churchill. This is unfreaking believable. You know, I thought about this, Joe, and cut me off when we have to go to break. I thought about this, and I'm thinking, why? What is the rationale? And I think I may, other than them probably threatening or blackmailing Mike Johnson and some of the other leadership, maybe it's because they don't want to lose this war, quote unquote, on Joe Biden's watch. Maybe it's just they don't want to have that on their record that they were the ones that enabled Russia to win, But, on top of all that, you're talking about billions of dollars going to the military-industrial complex, and everything you just said prior to that, talking about all the wars going back to Vietnam and Kuwait and the Middle East. That's all this is. It's a money laundering machine, and it's enriching those defense contractors and people part of the military-industrial complex, and probably congressmen and women themselves.
Let's call a motion to vacate the speaker because this is absolutely ridiculous. Call their bluff. Make a Republican vote for Hakeem Jeffries. I dare you. I dare you. All right, we're going to take a break, but when we get back, we're going to talk about cannibals again. What do they think about all this self-immolation going on? Does it make their mouth water? We'll discuss it when we return to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. Two things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today.
Beaver County Transit Authority connects you to where you want to be. The doctor's office or well-deserved shopping spree will take you to wherever you please. Safe, no fuss, leave the driving to us. Hop on, adventures coming your way.
The Beaver County Transit Authority Fast Forward Summer Pass is back in 2024. The application opens online at bcta.com or in person at the Rochester Transportation Center on May 11th. The days are getting longer and the weather is warming up. Don't miss your chance to travel around Beaver County and even into Pittsburgh all summer long. Children ages 6 to 21 ride free between June 1st and August 31st.
Safe, no fuss, leave the driving to us. Adventure's just a ride away. Beaver County Transit Authority, BCTA. Ride the bus.
It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Galla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Galla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP, sponsored by Grossing Associates. Grossing Associates. There's a reason they are voted best of the Valley year in and year out. Okay, last segment we were talking about the Uniparty passing a nice aid package, not for our border, but for other countries' borders. We also talked about Tucker Carlson's interview with Joe Rogan, and now we're going to move to Tucker's former coworker at Fox News, Peter Doocy. Peter Doocy on Friday tried asking Karine Jean-Pierre about Biden's, quote, "cannibals ate my uncle" claim. But somehow he was just accused of making jokes about the situation. Ryan, can you play the latest cannibal audio we have?
Why is President Biden saying he was shot down? There's no evidence of that. And why is he saying that his uncle was eaten by cannibals? That's a bad way to go.
I'm not. We should not make jokes about
It's
this.
not. President Biden said that his uncle was eaten by cannibals.
I mean, your last line is it's for a laugh. It's for a funny statement, and he takes this very seriously. His uncle, who served and protected this country, lost his life serving, and you have a former president who disrespects that, who doesn't honor that. Said it as president, suckers or losers. That's what he said. But I think you're missing the point. The point is you have a president that lifts up American veterans, who lifts up our U.S. service members. I'm going to move on.
Yeah, he lifts them up all right, the U.S. Service. He lifts them all the way up into heaven, like those in Afghanistan or the 2 Navy SEALs that got missing while we still don't know what they were doing. And honestly, shame on everyone else in that room for staying silent. You got Karine Jean-Pierre addressing Biden's own words, then says that Peter Doocy is making a joke. And the rest of the media just say nothing and allow it. Next, they'll all be clapping like seals when she walks in. She literally tells Peter Doocy, we should not make jokes about this. Quote, quote, quote. I'm quoting Joe Biden here. They never found the body because there was a lot of cannibals. ... For real. That was the quote. Well, what about the fact that Joe Biden said he was shot down? That didn't happen either. Keep in mind, this is a presidential election year. You know, there was a time in this country where lying on the campaign trail would be newsworthy for weeks and possibly end your campaign. No one covered this. It died. Mark, where are all the campaign reporters? You know, the ones that ride on the back of the plane to every event? Isn't this their job to cover this?
Karine Jean-Pierre, Joe, we say it all the time. She's the gift that keeps on giving. She is by far the worst press secretary of our lifetime. Probably the worst ever in the history of the position. But yeah, I really do enjoy her relationship with Peter Doocy and vice versa, because he's always pressing her on things and pushing the envelope a little bit when other reporters really won't. He will, press her buttons. I would love to see what the relationship these reporters have with her, like outside of the briefing room, whether it's cordial or not, whether it's contentious, who knows. But another one of our guys, Simon Ateba, we always talk about, he never gets called upon, and, he doesn't have any love lost for Karine Jean-Pierre. But now back to what you were saying here. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about presidents lying in the past and how that came to bite them, whether it's the John Kerry Swift boat, lie, or whether it's George Bush or whatever, but, we're just naming these things. And now it seems like it happens all the time, repeatedly. And it kind of gets lost in the shuffle with everything else. So I don't think anyone's really surprised that Biden said this, because he gets a pass because he is literally like senile, probably late stage Alzheimer's or dementia. And I think he just gets a pass because people know that he is not well.
Again,
which is sad.
I don't know. Mitt Romney said binders full of women and dropped 2 points in the 2012 campaign. Remember Howard Dean went Pyaw! And had to drop out after. How does Biden get an 81-year-old man that might not have a pulse? We don't even know what kind of drug cocktail he has to be put on to get him up and moving.
You're right. I would love to see it. I mean, like, what does he do? When his daily schedule ends at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, what's he do the rest of the day? Take a nap?
Put him in a hyperbaric chamber.
Get his feet rubbed? Who knows?
It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But he gets to call these shots. He's like we said, the poop shield. that gets covered for all this stuff that they want to do that Obama could never get done. But somehow Biden does. Speaking of which, moving on. This is from John Podesta. I believe it was on.
No, John Podesta.
That's about a week ago. White House will do what it can to keep gas prices down. And then,
I'm sure they will.
Well, Zero Hedge predicted another SPR drain coming. And then, where was it? It's coming. And then this is from Jim Weed on X. Good plan, ? Biden sold off 45% of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve before the 2022 election. He just canceled plans to refill the reserves. And now, Biden plans to drain additional reserves for political purposes ahead of the November election. Mark, I believe gas is about $3.89 a gallon somewhere around where I am. I don't know about Allegheny County, how much better or worse it can be. But have you noticed gas prices ticking up, and do you think this is the plan? This is how we're going to keep Biden's poll numbers okay when it comes to energy, is just sell off the Strategic Petroleum Reserve as we're saber-rattling against 5 other countries right now?
Yeah, this has to be, Joe, because I read something the other day. I want to say this is true. At least here in Pennsylvania, gas has not fallen below $3 a gallon since Biden has been in office. Now, Pennsylvania has one of the highest gas taxes in the country. I think number 2 behind California, right? But down in, I want to say South Carolina, it's like 60 cents cheaper per gallon than it is here. Regardless, selling off more Strategic Petroleum Reserves, I mean, how low can you go with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve? You know, they've already shuttered one of that facility on the East Coast, I think, Joe, right? It was an oil.
I'm not sure if that was part of the national strategic, but yeah, yes. Just
so. This is just smoke and mirrors. You know, we know that gas usually ticks up a little bit in the summertime, but I don't know what good that's going to do. I mean, what are you going to save? 10 cents off a gallon? I mean, it's obviously on the way up. You know, and if something larger were to break out in Iran or somewhere else in the other parts of the world, I mean, you're looking at probably $5 or $6 a gallon, to be quite honest with you. So
it's not the price; it's the availability.
They don't want that to happen.
It's the availability if we have a conflict or for some reason, because we don't produce oil. It's not like you could just flip a switch and start, hey, pumping oil out. You know, it's not how it's going to work.
I did read that, and I don't know how true this is, but it was on CNN, so take that for what it's worth. That the United States of America, like right now, is producing more oil than any country in history. And they just, I guess last week was a big week for the Department of the Interior and conservationists, which is great. But there was a big project up in Alaska called the Willow Project, where they were going to drill on the National Arctic, I think, Wildlife Refuge. And this is like one of the largest deposits of oil probably in the world. And plans have already been in the works to get this going and get the oil out. And the Biden administration said, we're not going to permit that to happen. So I'm sure there's pros and cons on both sides of that. But apparently we're producing more oil than any other country on Earth. I don't know. You know, I know oil is a global market, but you would think gas would be a little bit lower. The price of gas would be a little bit lower than it is today.
Like I said, this is just a big deal if there's ever a conflict, whether it be Russia, China, Taiwan, whatever. And that actually leads us into our next topic here. And I better be careful when pronouncing this one. So, Niger, am I saying it right? Niger. Niger's Russian-backed military junta has agreed to release 1,000 U.S. troops that it effectively was holding hostage in exchange for Biden's agreement to turn over our $100 million airbase to Niger and the Russian forces. The U.S. media will barely mention this humiliation today, and that's coming from A Muse on X. And like I said, that name, Mark, I don't even want to say it. Like, to quote Ray Epps, I don't even want to say it because I'll go to jail. But
hey,
Niger.
Like the Aliquippa quips say, Joe, take your hat and coat and leave.
That's basically what they told. This is the guy that's supposed to be, bring the adults are supposed to be back in the room, and we are getting tossed out of different countries like a 19-year-old college student at a bar. I mean, come on. Jeez.
Like DJ Jazzy Jeff on the intro to Fresh Prince. Get out.
All right, speaking of getting out, we're going to get out of here for a minute. But when we return, there was another mass shooting in this country. Mark, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Was it at a school or was it at a block party in Memphis? We're going to leave you guessing until we return. This is Thinking Logically here on your hometown 99.3 WBVP.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, coming to you live from the Fried Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fried Transportation, a winning team. 99.3 FM and WBVP, providing news, sports, and information for 76 years.
I'm Patty.
And I'm Bob. We're retired, and we live at St. Barnabas in the Village.
We used to have a house.
Lived in it for 40 years.
Raised our kids.
But it became too much. The upkeep, the stairs.
Moving seemed like such a hassle. We didn't even know where to start, so we didn't.
Until we met Cindy at St. Barnabas.
She talked us through our options.
Yeah, and she helped us with our move and all the arrangements.
There was so much stuff. Who knew we had 3 fondue pots?
But she made it easy.
So easy.
Now we enjoy ourselves.
Golf, the pool, new friends, shuttles to where we want to go.
The pub and the food.
So good.
There wasn't a long-term commitment or any large fees.
And they have a healthcare system on campus with doctors if we need it. The kids really like that.
The kids like to come and eat with us.
There's an easier, worry-free way to retire at the Village at St. Barnabas. Come visit us for a free and informative counseling session and personal tour.
I can't believe you waited so long.
I can't believe you waited so long.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700.
It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Gullah with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Gullah of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back. You're listening to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM on your hometown WBVP. Last segment we talked about all kinds of things. This segment, we're going to talk about numerous ways to harm children. Everything from shooting them in the streets of Kansas City on playgrounds to sexually assaulting them like supposedly a former U.S. advisor may have done. So the first story here, we have another mass shooting in this country. This time it's at a block party in Memphis, Tennessee, and I guess there was multiple fatalities. Mark, can you figure out why you won't see this on the national news media like every other mass shooting? Any idea?
Oh, Memphis, no stranger to high-profile shootings. My dad just texted me, why isn't the media reporting about this mass shooting? Thought it would lead the news. I have my guesses, but I will refrain. Joe, what actually happened here? How many fatalities? How many folks were shot? Well, I didn't hear anything about this, to be quite honest.
As soon as I started looking into it, another one popped up. A 6-year-old boy was shot in Kansas City, Missouri while playing outside a playground with his friends. He was the 3rd child who was shot in the past 8 days in Kansas City. And then they have surveillance footage showing the children playing on the playground outside before gunshots rang out, knocking one child off his bicycle. The reason for the shooting remains unknown. And the 6-year-old boy is reportedly in the hospital fighting for his life. The other 2 children who were shot this month sadly died. There was a time in this country where there would be a Super Bowl parade and children and people would get shot at the Super Bowl parade and they want to ban guns. And it'd be a national news story, and Adam Scheffler and all these people that have no business commenting on political stuff that should just stick to rumors about football want to comment on it. Where are they at here with a 6-year-old kid getting shot and 2 other ones getting shot in 8 days and dying? Where are they here?
Yeah. It says here, a shooting at Memphis block party leaves 2 dead and 6 injured. Wow.
That counts as a mass shooting.
Let's ban the guns.
No, they don't want, because they don't want you to know how these people get these guns, and they're criminals and they're not going to abide by the law. So what do you want to do? Run a background check on everyone twice? You think that's going to solve anything? No. Make these people face stiff penalties. We have laws on the books, enforce them.
By the way, I see what you did there, Joe. Adam Scheffler. Getting Adam Scheffler and Scotty Scheffler mixed up. Congrats to Scotty Scheffler, by the way. Back-to-back wins on the PGA Tour. One in Harbor Town.
Is his wife going to have that baby ever, or what?
No,
I mean,
apparently she
I've
was
been
only a
fading
couple
him.
months pregnant.
I've been fading him for a month, waiting for him to have that baby.
The media took that one and ran with it.
Speaking of having the baby, we got. I mean, what is this? Like the 5th episode in a row we had to cover abortion being a national federal issue when it should be a state issue. At least this one's a political ad from Gavin Newsom. Let me give some background before Ryan starts playing the clip here. Gavin Newsom released a new ad saying Trump is going to order police to stop women crossing state lines and force them to take pregnancy tests. Ryan, when you get a chance, play that amazing audio.
We're almost there. We're gonna make it.
Trump Republicans want to criminalize young Alabama women who travel for reproductive care.
Miss, I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle, take a pregnancy test.
Stop them by taking action at Right to Travel.
What is going on? What is going on? I mean, to actually make that commercial, people got paid to come up with that idea and play that. How is this good for them? Are we still going on? What is wrong with you people? Nobody wants to do that. Nobody. Am I
Nobody
wrong?
is even saying that.
Nobody wants anything federal at all to do with it. They want it to be a state issue. If it's a state issue, you can clearly leave your state and go have an abortion in another state, I guess, because it's a different
Where's
state.
Ryan? Is Ryan there? Ryan, are we crazy right now? I mean, who is saying that we want to criminalize? That Trump wants to criminalize women for crossing state lines to have an abortion.
You know,
this is fear porn.
It really is fascinating, guys, because one thing that I have noticed is anytime that as Joe had mentioned, it sounds made up. I mean, who would do this? But anytime that something is said that people don't agree with, they just automatically throw it out there. Trump wants to take this from you. Trump wants to take that from you. Trump doesn't want you to do this. Trump, and that seems to be too common anymore in the way people think. And I think this falls into that category. It's crazy.
Does it sound like an SNL parody commercial?
It really does. It really does sound like an SNL parody commercial.
It absolutely does.
I just don't understand why they keep thumping this issue. Like, are we the only ones screaming at clouds saying that this is a state issue and none of this is going to happen? Do people actually, people might believe this. I don't know. That's why we have to do this show. We have to. We can't stop now.
And it's not real. It's completely made up.
And this is like This is like the 10th topic we covered that isn't real. The Trump farting could be real, can't be real. We don't know. We can't confirm that. But like the cannibals, the shot down, there's like 10 things that we covered that isn't real. I'm starting to actually question if Ukraine is a real country.
Gavin Newsom has way bigger problems on his hands, like the minimum wage hike that he instituted there in California.
Speaking of children and abortion, something that honestly is just as sickening as abortion, preying on children and child porn. This is from, who is this from? What news outlet? I'm not sure. Actually, Post Millennial, could that be right? Former advisor to Obama and Hillary Clinton arrested on child sex crime charges in the United Kingdom. Mark, wasn't Obama just in the United Kingdom for a surprise visit? Think it had anything to do with this?
He was.
Watch out for this guy.
I didn't see this either from the Post Millennial, but I mean, I'm not completely surprised. I mean, we know that they had a lot of sinister people working in their administration, and they surround themselves with, some sick people as it is. But what this guy? He had a senior role at the U.S. Treasury Department.
Yes.
From 2008 to 2014.
I mean,
So,
that's probably why we're $36 trillion in debt. We got people worrying more about diddling kids than our financials going on right now.
yeah, he's been accused of arranging the commission of a child sex offense. Also been charged with the possession of indecent images of children and possessing a prohibited image of a child. Court documents show. Well, hey, Tucker Carlson did say on Joe Rogan, if you piss off the intelligence agencies, they could just put kiddie porn on your computer and accuse you of being a child predator.
Yeah.
There's that.
But we will keep an open mind. We will keep a fair open mind. That's a very good point. We will keep a fair open mind when it comes to that. But that's why we said allegedly. But interesting situation to follow.
For sure.
Yeah. Just the only thing I can suggest, if you did it, just get on your knees and just beg for forgiveness from the Lord. And speaking of which, we got about 4 minutes left. We have another Catholic Corner. I'm excited.
Catholic Corner update. Just saw this today. Candace Owens. Candace Owens, for many of you who know who Candace Owens is, one of the leading conservative voices out in the country today. So she was a Protestant and married a man who is a Catholic. I forget what her father-in-law does, but guy's like a billionaire or whatever. Regardless, she has been, I believe, discerning, we'll say, converting to Catholicism, and I believe she's originally from Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, or lives there now, one or the other. So she made this post today on, I think, Instagram or X. Recently, I made the decision to go home. There is, of course, so much more that went into this decision and that I plan to share in the future. But for now, praise be to God for his gentle but relentless guiding of my heart toward truth. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. I do not fear. Christ is King. So congratulations to Candace Owens for converting to Catholicism, becoming a member of the Catholic Church. She put on her Instagram story earlier, baptized into the one holy apostolic church with a priest. So great news. Candace Owens, again, one of the leading voices out there in conservative circles. So,
and she will now be looked into by the FBI. The FBI will now be looking into her.
Yes. As long as she goes to the Latin Mass, she is a target.
All right, we got about 2 or 3 minutes left. Let's talk about elections here for a second. Throwing it back to 2020, Postal Service released its final report on contract driver Jesse Morgan, and apparently he was vindicated. This is the guy that supposedly hauled a trailer full of ballots from New York to PA in October of 2020 and came out and was a whistleblower about it. Apparently he's vindicated. We don't got time to get into the article now from the Gateway Pundit if you want to go check out the story. And then, Mark, we live in Pennsylvania. There is a primary tomorrow. Who are you voting for?
Yes. Well, good luck to all of the people running. And obviously, no matter what party you are affiliated with, it takes courage to run and to put yourself out there into the public sphere and to do something like this. So good luck to everyone running, especially those Republicans. We have one of our future guests that are coming on here in the next couple weeks, Roman Kozak, running for the 14th Legislative District here in Beaver County. He'll be on the show. One of the races to watch, though, Joe, is on the Democratic side in Pittsburgh. Incumbent representative in the House of Representatives in Washington, Summer Lee, part of the squad, a far-left progressive, quotes. She is running against a moderate Democrat, quotes, that her name is Bhavini Patel, who is aligning herself with Joe Biden. So this is a race to watch on the Democratic side. We'll see. We'll see what the turnout's like and who comes out on top.
I hate how our primary is so late.
What's that, Joe?
I said I hate how our primary is so late. Because I'm going to go out and vote. I'm going to vote for Trump, like I said, because I don't want Nikki Haley getting like even 10% of the vote share here. But just to send a message. And there's a few other people in the primary I want to vote for. It's my first primary voting as a Republican, if you could believe that, if you've known me for as long as you know.
Congratulations. This is my, third or fourth, I believe. But we are coming up on 6 months away from Election Day, Joe. Like Sebastian Gorka said in our lead into our episode, there at the top of the hour, the 4 o'clock hour, it might be over if we don't win on November 5th.
All right, we got to get out of here. Ryan, any last thoughts?
No, great show today, guys. As always, I think these guys hit on a lot of points, a lot of things that are certainly being talked about, in the news and, current affair-wise. It's always been great talking to you, Mark, Joe, both you guys, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday.
All right, can't wait. We'll be back on Thursday, 5 to 6, and also, it's an NFL draft day. Arians go, Steelers. Arians go. Stay tuned. We'll be here Thursday, 5 to 6. This is Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls.